The auditorium was packed, buzzing with excitement as the lights dimmed and the talent show host introduced the next contestant. A hush fell over the crowd when a thin, shy-looking girl in a faded dress walked nervously onto the stage. Her shoes were worn out, her hands trembled as she held the microphone, and her eyes revealed both fear and determination. She was clearly not like the other polished contestants who had come before her. Whispers spread quickly through the audience. Who is she? She looks so nervous. Do you think she can sing? But no one could have imagined what was about to happen. Her name was Aisha, a 15-year-old girl who came from one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city. Life had not been kind to her. She grew up without luxuries, without opportunities, and with very little hope. Her mother had passed away when she was just 8 years old, and her father worked endless hours at a factory to make sure she at least had food on the table. But what they lacked in wealth, her father tried to make up for in love. He would always remind her, no matter what the world tells you, you are enough. You are loved. For years, Aisha found comfort in music. She would sit by the small window of their one-room home, listening to old songs on a broken radio. Singing became her escape, her way of feeling close to her mother and honoring her father's sacrifices. But she had never performed in front of anyone outside her community. This school talent show was the first time she had ever stepped on such a big stage, and her heart raced as she faced the sea of eyes staring back at her. The judges, seated at the front, glanced at one another with skepticism. Her appearance didn't inspire confidence, and they prepared themselves for a shaky performance. Aisha noticed the doubt in their eyes, and for a split second, she almost froze. But then she remembered her father sitting in the back row, smiling proudly despite his tired face and worn-out clothes. She remembered the nights he stayed awake, fixing her school bag with thread when it tore, saving a few coins just so she could have pencils and notebooks. That love gave her courage. When the music began, the first notes of "Because You Loved Me" filled the hall. At first, her voice was soft and fragile, almost uncertain. But then, something magical happened. Her trembling faded, and she began to sing with all the emotion she had carried in her heart for years. Her voice was raw, pure, and filled with gratitude. Every lyric felt like it was written for her father, the man who had carried her through the storms, who had been her strength when she felt weak. The crowd went silent. The whispers stopped. Even the judges leaned forward, their expressions changing from doubt to awe. Aisha's voice climbed higher, stronger, tears streaming down her face as she poured her soul into the song. By the time she reached the chorus, the audience was holding back their tears. Parents in the crowd squeezed their children's hands, realizing the depth of her words. Students who had never noticed her before now stared in shock at the power hidden inside this quiet girl. Her father, sitting in the back row, could no longer hold back his tears. He clutched his chest, overwhelmed with pride as he heard his daughter sing about love, strength, and sacrifice. The lyrics became their story, the story of a girl who had nothing but a father's love and everything because of it. When the final note rang out, the entire auditorium erupted into a standing ovation. The judges wiped their eyes. Some audience members sobbed openly, while others simply stood frozen, stunned by the emotional wave that had just swept over them. Aisha lowered the microphone, overwhelmed, her voice shaking as she whispered, "That was for my father." One of the judges stood and said, "That was not just a performance. That was a gift. You reminded us of what love truly means." Another judge pressed the golden buzzer, showering her in golden confetti. The crowd roared as Aisha looked toward her father, who stood clapping with tears running down his cheeks. The moment became more than just a talent show audition. It became a story of resilience, love, and the power of music. Aisha showed the world that greatness isn't defined by wealth, appearance, or privilege, it's defined by the love that shapes us and the courage to share it. From that day, her life changed. Opportunities came pouring in, and people around the world watched her performance online, moved to tears by her story. But Aisha never forgot the real reason behind her song. Every time she stepped onto a stage afterward, she carried with her the memory of her mother and the strength of her father's sacrifices. Her journey left a lasting message for everyone who heard it. Even when life strips away everything you think you need, love has the power to lift you higher than you ever dreamed possible.